Coach Brad. Here I am. My name is Brad Fischel. I'm an ACE certified personal trainer and health coach, and here to answer any questions that you might have on virtually any topic. Take your pick. Let's make sure we have got our thing here ready to rock so everybody can come on in and join me and ask any questions they like. Let's get this down a bit here. And I do believe we are close to ready. Hello, Zach. Are you going to join us today? I want to see. Make sure that we're good and nice. You guys going to come over and join me here? Come here. Come on up here. You guys can come have a sit down here in the background. I do my thing. You gonna lay down up there too? Hang on, you got room up there too. Big guy. Yeah, you guys relax. Can't get in here. The big monkeys. There, now you're all set. You're comfy. Hello, Zozo. Hey, you guys. Morning. Just getting things ready. It's a nifty little Wednesday. We're going to get some stretching done, and I'm here to answer any questions you've got. I like to see if anyone can challenge me. I don't care if the question is related to personal training. I don't care if it's related to health. Just want to talk about common current events, anything that's important to you. Ask me anything about anything that matters to you. If I don't know it, I'll find out and get back to you. But I guarantee you, there's plenty of things that we can talk about that I've got background and experience on as a personal trainer, health coach, and 30 years in the business industry. Also an accomplished public speaker, animal rights activist, and general all-around good guy. What we're going to do this morning first is we're going to start warming up while people join us. If we have any questions pop up on screen, I will talk about them. Seriously, I want to answer any questions you've got, and we're also going to talk about living a little bit healthier. Take it from a guy who used to weigh 250 plus pounds and had a 30-year cigarette habit. So things were not always as hunky-dory and rosy as they are right now. In comparison, in fact, let me bring in an old friend. This was me at about 205 pounds. This was also 50 pounds less than I'd already dropped at this point. The reason I bring this out and the reason I bring this up is now I help people lose weight. I help people quit smoking. I help people get in shape and generally, hopefully, lead longer, healthier, and happier lives in the process. Let's do a little bit of warm-ups. Anybody have any questions right off the bat? Seriously, anything that you can think of, health-related, personal training, just in general, can't hear you. Well, let me try this. See if this setting on my snowball works any better. Can you hear me now? Make sure my microphone's on. Yeah. All right. Ewan, can you hear me now? Let me know. Give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. Can you guys hear me? Yes? No? Maybe? How about now? Can you hear me? Is that better? Can you hear me now? Yes? No? Maybe? Ewan, can you hear me? Obviously, I can't answer any questions if you guys can't hear me. So how about it? Here, I will check even on my device and see if I can hear me. How's that? In the meantime, questions. If you can hear me, hit me up with some questions. Let me know what you want to talk about today. All right. Let's see if this is coming through in broadcasting. Otherwise, it doesn't do a whole lot of good, huh, you guys? Yeah. Okay, so. Anybody can hear me? Yes? No? Maybe? Speak up. Can anybody hear me yet? Am I still not audible to you guys? Somebody give me a comment. Yes? Can you hear me? Good morning. Hello there. I'm trying to find out if anybody can hear me. Yes? No? Let me put a note in here. Can you guys hear me? Who's got a question? Hit me up. I'm waiting to hear it. Yes? No? Can you hear me? Hello? Somebody out there, tell me if you can hear me. Doesn't do me a whole lot of good to talk to you if you can't hear me. Well, I'm assuming you can, because somebody is listening in, and I want to answer any questions you've got. So hit me up. Who wants to know something about anything? How about, hey Brad, how'd you quit smoking after 30 years? Or hey Brad, how'd you take off 110 pounds without doing diet plans? Or hey Brad, how are you managing your type 2 diabetes? Any questions you've got, hit me with it. Make this interactive as possible. Now I want to make certain you guys can hear me. If you can't hear me, say so. Otherwise, I guess if you can't hear me, you can't say so. Ewan, can you hear me now? Speak up. Tell me what you want to know. All right, I don't know, talk at you direct. All right, you guys. Anybody out there looking to lose weight in the new year? Yes? Anybody out there wanting to quit smoking this year coming up? Who's got some New Year's resolutions they'd like to share? I know I've got a few things in mind, that's for certain. How about getting a little exercise and warm up and stretch done? You guys ready for this? Questions? I will put this up here. Ask me anything you want. Hit me up. Come on. Anything. Does anybody know what the challenge was yesterday? Because nobody got it right. I'm giving away a free copy of Pushing Double Nickels. I will sign it. I will put a personalized note in there, and I will mail it to whatever address via UPS you give me if you can answer one simple question. I've spent about 50-something years with dogs, cats, domestic animals of all kinds. I've worked on farms. I understand the feelings and emotions that these guys share with us. Specifically dogs. Remember, we took a perfectly good gray wolf, and starting around 50,000 years ago, we turned it into a couch potato. I guarantee you, if this little girl, who's now 12, and she is a Chiweenie, all of my animals are rescue animals, if she had to spend a night outside, she wouldn't survive. There's no way. Let's make sure that the gang is in the shot here, so you can enjoy their company as well as mine. But the objective today, I think, is to make sure that everybody understands exactly how these animals feel. If you're a pet owner, you already know. Animals have the same emotions that we do. They have feelings the same as we do. They love, they care for us without reservation. Anyone who has a cat or a dog understands just a little bit of affection is returned in multiple ways. Right now we have a big problem in America with the homeless dog situation, homeless cat situation, and just this year, 2017, we euthanized over 10 million cats and dogs in shelters. I can assure you, anywhere in your vicinity, there's a shelter that's got animals just waiting for people to come adopt them. And the ones that are not no-kill shelters, normally the dog has maybe a week to 10 days. So if you are in the mood for adopting, remember it's a lifetime thing. It's a 15 to 20 year responsibility, which is why I am always talking about never ever giving cats, dogs, kittens, puppies as presents. It's not something that you hand somebody, here's a 15, 20 year responsibility for you to take care of this animal. If somebody's not ready for it, and quite often they're not, that dog can wind up getting returned to a shelter, or even worse, just cut loose outside. I posted a video recently of a car in Florida. They busted the auto as dumping the dog out the back door and driving away. And it happens every day, all over. Anyhow, I'm waiting for questions. Anyone else have any questions? Hit me up with something, you guys. Let's make this interesting, challenging. Ewan, you still haven't told me if you can hear me now. Can you guys hear me? Seriously. It doesn't do me a lot of good to talk to you if you can't hear what I'm saying. Yeah. How about this? Anybody who hasn't fanned me yet and you're watching, please go ahead and fan me now or give me a thumbs up. That way I know that you can hear me. I do want to talk about a couple things that are rather important, and this is just in general. These are general numbers that we need to discuss. There's 330 million Americans right now. Out of the 330 million Americans, there's around 200,000 or 200 million or more who are where I was, either heavy or very heavy, either overweight or obese. My BMI at my heaviest was about 38. Anything over 30 is considered obese, and I know how it happened. I know what happened to make me get to 250 pounds, and it was a simple matter of sedentary and not keeping an eye on my diet. It was very simple. In 2005, I was 252 pounds. All right, I'll show you the driver's license picture. Let me cover up at least this. I keep this on purpose. That's my old driver's license picture from 2004, 2005 when they originally took that picture. That was me at 252 pounds. And at that time, I was also still a cigarette smoker. I started smoking cigarettes at 15, and I finally, just after that, at age 46. So I spent 31 years inhaling cigarettes. Got rid of them on July 15th, 2005. Haven't had one since. And of course, my smell and my breathing and everything else has improved as a result. This year, I'm helping people quit smoking for free. So if you are ready, and remember, even as the best personal trainer and health coach, and I am certified, I'm fully trained and capable, but I cannot make you quit smoking. I can also not make you get butt. I can yell at you all day long and say, get off your butt, but this is something you've got to be self-motivated to do. I spent 25 years in computers working in the information technology industry. And by the time I got hit with type 2 diabetes in 2005, and that's what prompted all of this, I was at the heaviest I'd ever been, and sitting around all day working on computers, or going out in meetings with clients to talk about working on computers, doing training programs. So I spent 2.5 decades just working in computers and sitting around. Now, when I was younger and in my 20s and starting off in IT and in computers, my metabolism would naturally burn itself. But as we get older, we have a tendency to not burn our calories as quickly. The autonomic burning, what generally burns anyway, what will burn out of your system just because your heart's beating and you're breathing, is usually around, maybe 10% of your body weight. So for instance, if you weigh 200 pounds, you'll probably need about 1900 calories or thereabouts just to remain at the weight you are. If, however, you want to lose weight, or conversely, and there are some out there, you want to gain weight, it's a pretty simple math formula. Every 3,500 calories that is either consumed and not burned, or burned out of your system, equals 1 pound of fat. So, for instance, for me it was very simple. 2003 to 2005, I put on probably close to 70 pounds. And it was a simple matter of not being active, overeating, not watching what I ate as much, not so much what as how much, because I have a pretty big appetite when you're 250 pounds. And the problem is when you just sit there and you eat and you're not spending any time considering how much you're eating, or are you going to do anything active to help counteract what the calories you're putting in, that's not something that you normally sit around and think about. I guess you could say I was fat and happy. So here I was, 45 years old, 250 pounds, smoking a pack of Camel filters a day, and I started having some of the weirdest symptoms you've ever seen. Non-stop thirst. I could not stop drinking. And I'm not talking about liquor. I'm talking about anything as far as waters, juices, sodas, anything along those lines. Any questions, you guys stop me, because I will talk about health and being healthier and etc. for hours on end. So if you have any questions specifically regarding yourself, I don't care if it has to do with personal training. I don't care if it has to do with health. I just want to make certain if you're going to sit here and listen to me, I'm going to be of some kind of value. One thing I will tell you right now, anybody who's ready to quit smoking, I will help them do it free. I tell you right now, there's absolutely no way to get your health in order if you're still smoking cigarettes. I'm quite convinced, had I not quit the cigarette habit and lost the weight I lost and got my diabetes under control, I probably wouldn't be talking to you right now. So hit me up with a question. You give me something challenging. I'll put my old man glasses on every now and then so I can see if anybody has a question. Seriously. And you never told me. Can you guys hear me? Okay. See if anybody has. Let me know. Because I want to answer your questions, and if you can't hear me, I can't answer your questions. Does anybody want some, join me in some warm-ups? I mean, today is pretty much, I'm going to give this next 2 hours at least to you guys. So I want to answer your questions, see if there's anything that I can help support. If you've got some New Year's goals in mind that you'd like to accomplish, let's go ahead and talk about them. I am an ACE certified personal trainer and ACE certified health coach. And we, ACE that is, we're the only ones who are also HIPAA regulated. We're HIPAA compliant. So all of my clients, whether I'm working with them in person or on Skype, texting, email, it doesn't matter. The platform that I communicate with my clients, everything is kept strictly confidential. All files are kept locked up, and anything that's discussed between me and my client stays between me and my client. I do work with my clients' physicians because the numbers that I'm about to bring up are things that are extremely important for anybody. And these are numbers that I hope you guys know. And if you don't, I highly recommend you get to know them, and as soon as possible. Besides, when I start with a new client, and my specialty is losing weight, quitting smoking, people getting in shape, and of course, as a baby boomer, I'm also a senior fitness specialist. So I will do the senior fitness tests, and I will also do basic tests on a client who's not a senior. So anyone can work with me, all the way down to teenagers. I help teenage athletes also build muscle and endurance and work towards their goals as well. But right now, we have an epidemic. This is literally a crisis in America right now. Out of 330 million Americans, over 200 million are either overweight or obese. I was in the obese category myself at 110 pounds more than what you see me now. My BMI at that time was 38, and that's something that everybody should know. And it's a simple thing to figure out. You take your height and your weight, you look on, Google it, go anywhere and just put BMI scale and take your height and your weight, and it'll take you right across on that chart, and it'll show you exactly what your BMI is. Now, if you're doing what you should be doing and getting an annual checkup, then you should know your BMI already. Hang on. Anybody? I'm assuming you guys can hear me all right, because nobody said no. Do me a favor and fan me, would you? I'm trying to build up a little base on here, because 2018 I should be doing some fairly large presentations, but I want to get things going in a live interactive forum. I really like this because not only can I talk to you about being healthier, I can answer your questions. And to me, being able to work with people directly in a forum like this is invaluable. I have no problem getting up and talking to 2,000 people. I've been doing public speaking for, I won't say how long. But to me, having the ability to interact with the folks in the audience, being able to answer questions and talk to them is so much better than just creating a video log or doing any kind of things where it's just me talking. Now, mind you, right now it's just me talking. So I still want to see you guys hit me up with some questions. And I'm going to hit you again with a question that's going to earn somebody a free book. Now, this is Pushing Double Nickels. You'll find it on Amazon. You can go look at it right now. In fact, you can read it on the Kindle viewer, and you can always look at the first 30, 40 pages. I recommend you look at the table of contents. Chapter 1 is quitting smoking, how I quit a 30-year cigarette habit on the first try. And you can do it, seriously. Mark Twain is very famous for having said, quitting smoking is easy. I've done it thousands of times. Unfortunately, if you're going to quit smoking and pick it right back up again, what's the point? I have a chapter in Pushing Double Nickels that says, do it right the first time. And that's true of almost anything. If you're going to do something, if you're going to take your time and effort into something, do it right the first time. Why do something just so you have to go back and do it again? Especially something as important as getting your health in order. You cannot get your health in order if you still smoke cigarettes. So anybody this year that wants to get rid of the cigarette habit, I will help them for free. Email me at pushingdoublenickels@yahoo.com. That's pushingdoublenickels@yahoo.com, and just put in help me quit, or anything along those lines in the title. And I will Skype with you. If you're in my area, I'll work with you in person. I'll put together a plan so that by the end of 90 days, when you're ready to start, you will no longer be a cigarette smoker. And we'll make sure we do it right the first time so you don't have to go back and do it again. Also, now that I do for free. Anyone who wants to quit smoking, that's my community give back. This year, it'll also be all of next year. Getting your health in order is something everybody should have as a goal for 2018. Everybody has I'm going to lose weight. See, the problem with having goals is if you don't make them smart goals, if these goals aren't going to give specific things that you want to get done, smart goals are simply, they're specific goals. They're measurable, they're attainable, they're relevant, and they're time-bound. Smart goals is something, instead of just saying, I want to lose weight, make it specific. I want to lose 50 pounds, right? That's very specific. Is it measurable? Sure. You have an exact number. You want to lose 50 pounds. Is it attainable? Well, that all depends on whether or not you're going to give it the proper amount of time. If you're expecting you're going to lose 50 pounds in a month, then that's not attainable. It's got to be attainable. We'll get to that with the time-bound part. Relevant. Is it relevant to what you want to accomplish? You want to lose weight, you want to lose 50 pounds, I'd say that's very relevant. And then time bound. In other words, you need to set a goal time to get this accomplished. If you say, I want to lose 50 pounds, how long are you going to give yourself that time to lose 50 pounds? With my clients, I don't want them to lose more than a pound or two a week. But I want them to lose that pound or two a week for an entire year. That's where you're going to take off 50 pounds. Right? I spent from 2005 until today still, I consider myself always working on my weight. I will never ever be comfortable. I will never rest on my laurels and say, okay, I've taken off 110 pounds, I'm good to go. I know, for me especially, because I love to eat, I love to cook, I could easily blow back up to 250 pounds. Very simple. Staying healthy and staying in shape is a pretty simple formula. 75% of the time you spend should be looking at your diet. Now, I'm not talking about doing a diet plan or doing a diet program. I'm just talking about the simple fact of numbers. Let me repeat this. Every 3,500 calories that you stuff into your face, that you don't burn off in exercise or just general breathing, turns into a pound of fat. It's a very simple formula. 3,500 calories. If it goes in your mouth and does not get burned off in any form of exercise, then that turns into a pound of fat. So if you're putting an extra 3,500 calories into your body, let's say just per week, over a year, that's 50 pounds. 52 pounds, actually. And that's how I blew up from about 175 to 252 over about a 2-year period from 2003 to 2005. Unfortunately, when you get up to that kind of weight range, and my BMI was 38, that also tends to affect your endocrine system, your pancreas, how your body can process things, how it metabolizes fat, how it metabolizes blood sugars. Your pancreas is really put to task when you're overweight. So I was having the symptoms of diabetes, full-blown diabetes, in early 2005, which is what led to my final diagnosis and my doctor telling me, well, you can make a couple of choices at this time. And remember, at this time I was 252 pounds and still smoking cigarettes. And my doctor said to me, and my blood sugars were somewhere like 380. My A1C was somewhere in the 8-something range or higher, as I remember. I'm lucky I didn't go into a diabetic freaking coma. But my doctor said, you need to make some choices. You either make some changes, lose weight, quit smoking, get your health in order, or you can start looking at, which toes and which fingers you don't like, because they're eventually going to get diabetic neuropathy, and they'll get cut off. Right? You can lose your vision, and eventually you can lose your life. Type 2 diabetes is nothing to mess around with. What I'm really concerned with is out of 330 million Americans, 30 million of us have diagnosed. Okay, so that means 300 million Americans are supposedly non-diabetic. Unfortunately, and these numbers are just new from CDC, 70 million Americans are currently pre-diabetic. That means you're one step away from full-blown type 2 diabetes. And being where I'm at, having to take medication, and I take 2 different kinds of medication to control my diabetes, to get yourself back under control. If you have type 1 diabetes, that probably came from youth. That normally happens as a teenager. 90% of the diabetics are type 2, and that's usually adult onset. But it can be started earlier. You can get diabetes in your 20s and 30s now easily if you are overweight. Me, 45 is when I was diagnosed with diabetes type 2. And believe me, it was not a fun process trying to figure out what to do from there. Because I also, like I said, I was overweight and I was still smoking cigarettes. I'm like, what the am I going to do about this? Then if anybody else is in a similar situation, let me know. If you have any questions or comments about this, I'd certainly like to hear it. Because I guarantee you, if I can take off 110 pounds, seriously, naturally, without diet plans, without surgery, without bariatric surgery, without lap band surgery, just taking off the weight, I did it naturally by walking. It's awesome when you can figure out what it is that's going to motivate you enough to get off your butt and stay with some kind of program. One of the biggest problems personal trainers like me face is somebody will want to participate and they'll begin to participate, but then they lose interest over time, or they find excuses not to exercise, not to watch their diet. Right? The bottom line is, if you want to live a long, healthy life, you've got to put in some effort. It isn't just going to happen. Believe me, at 45 years old, and I'll show this to you again, as scary as it is, at 45 years old, that was me, 252 pounds. And this was still me, at a little over 200 pounds. This was 2010, thereabouts. Quick Start Intelligence, for those of you who know. Computer training, awesome organization. You want to learn good computer skills. Not that I'm pushing any particular organization, just having worked there as long as I did. I know that people are awesome and they do a very good job. But when you have 70 million Americans who are pre-diabetic, 70 million out of 330 million are pre-diabetic. That means right on the verge of having full-blown type 2 diabetes. One, it's scary. But two, that gives me a little bit of hope, because pre-diabetes isn't diabetes. And if you can take off as little as, let's say, 10% of your body weight, if you are overweight, especially if you are where I was, obese, if you can take off just 10% of what you've got, if you're 250 pounds like I was, take off 25 pounds. The difference that you'll see in one, your energy levels, the numbers that you'll be discussing with your doctor will improve, and I'm about ready to get into those, because these are numbers that everybody should know. And if you don't, you need to find them out. But 10%, just 10%. Very simple. If you're a shorter person, you weigh 150 pounds and you want to be at 100 pounds, is that your normal body weight would be around 100 pounds? And I have a friend who's just about that. 15 pounds, 10% would make a big difference. So for you, it's a matter of setting SMART goals. You want to lose weight? Make it specific. Make it measurable. Make it attainable. Make it relevant and time-bound. Set yourself a limit. All right? Don't just say, I want to lose weight. Say, I want to lose this much weight, and this is how I'm going to do it, and this is how long I'm going to take myself, give myself to do it. And if you do, reward yourself at the end. Give yourself a nice little bonus, a pat on the back. I don't care if it's a trip to your favorite restaurant. One thing that I've learned, not just as a personal trainer and health coach, but just in general, you cannot be good all the time. One of my clients once said to me, and I love this, he goes, Brad, I have type 2 diabetes. He was just diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. My doctor says I need to lose weight, but I don't want to start eating cardboard. And the look on his face when he said it was exactly, I can see the angst that he was feeling, because he knew he had to get his type 2 diabetes under control. He was scared about that. He knew he had to lose weight. And anytime somebody is told, you got to lose weight, well, then it's not so much of a, self-motivated thing as much of a, they get in your face about it. And then you're like, well, I'm happy. I feel good. Leave me alone. And when I was 250 pounds at 45 and still smoking cigarettes, before I started getting these really weird symptoms about the diabetes, I felt great. I mean, sure, I was, I guess you could say I was fat and happy, and smoking a pack a day of Camel filters. But once you start having those very strange symptoms, and in early, I'd say January, February 2005, I couldn't drink enough. I couldn't get enough water, juice, soda. It didn't matter what I drank. I was constantly thirsty. And of course, if you're constantly drinking, then you're constantly going to the bathroom. On top of that, my vision improved. Why? The pressure. When you have that much blood sugar going through your system that's not processed, that's why diabetic or neuropathy, retinal neuropathy happens, and people lose their vision from diabetes. When the blood sugars start killing off the feeling in your toes and your fingers, you start getting numbness initially. And then that turns into actual pain. It can be a burning pain when you're getting super neuropathy. And that means that eventually, you might wind up losing those toes or those fingers, or your eyesight, or eventually your life. So 70 million pre-diabetics scares the daylights out of me, especially with the second year in a row, first time since we've been tracking this, human lifespans have shortened, not extended. Remember, we are in an age now where medicine and our work with genetics and all of the things that we have coming our way and things that we've discovered. I mean, since penicillin 130 years ago, we have come so far, and we're going farther. But instead of the lifespans getting longer, for the last 2 years in a row, lifespans are getting shorter. That shouldn't be happening, gang. And the reason is, and I get back to this again, we have an epidemic, not just in America, although America leads the way globally. Yay! Once again, we're the leader. But we lead the world in the number of people, percentage-wise, in our country who are either overweight or obese. Having been both, I mean, if you're obese, then automatically you're in the overweight category. But overweight or obese, 2/3 of Americans now are in that situation. I was there. I understand how it happens. And it's not something you think about. It's not something you plan for. You don't suddenly wake up one day and go, hey, I think I'll just stuff my face until I become obese. It's not something you think about. It just happens. Like I said, every 3,500 calories that isn't burned, or that you eat or drink, that is not burned off, turns into 1 pound of fat. So it's a simple matter of math. No, yes, what you eat is important. The quality of what you put in your body is important. But initially, at the beginning, when you want to get things under control, you've got to look at your portion sizes. You've got to look at the calories that you're putting in your body and the calories that you're burning. So in the industry, as a personal trainer, I talk about a positive energy balance at the end of the day versus a negative energy balance at the end of the day. If you want to lose weight, you need to have a negative energy balance at the end of the day. That means that when you go to sleep that night, if you consumed 3,000 calories worth of food and snacks and beverages, you burned off at least 3,001. I mean, just that 1 calorie difference means that you had a negative energy balance. I would prefer that if you eat 3,000 or consume 3,000, you burn off, 4,000, 5,000, if possible. If you're trying to lose weight, it's mandatory, absolutely mandatory. You have to have a negative energy balance at the end of the day. Bottom line, if you want to just maintain the weight where you're at, then you just need to have right on the line between a negative energy balance and a positive energy balance. And as a personal trainer, health coach with my clients, I sit down and figure out, we go over the numbers. The first thing I have everybody do is to fill out a nutrition diet worksheet. I promise I'm just going to double check and make sure I stay on top of any questions, you guys. Hit me up. Seriously, if any of you out there are challenged right now with obesity, if you're sitting around trying to figure out what am I going to do, uh, and you have questions that you want answered, hit me up. Can you guys hear me? I'm asking again. Yasir, Mas Money. Anybody can, I'm trying to make sure you guys can hear me. Otherwise, it doesn't do me a lot of good to talk to you all day, huh? Yes? No? Somebody give me a response. Can you hear me? Yes? Hit me up, you guys. Can you hear me? Yes? Somebody give me a little bit of feedback here. Otherwise, I'm just sitting here talking to myself. Probably. If you can't hear me, that is. I do have my snowball, and I can always change the setting on this, you guys. This is supposed to be working extremely well, but if you guys can't hear me, then that doesn't do me a lot of good or you a lot of good. So let me know if you guys can't hear me. Speak up. Questions? Challenge. Who's got a question? Somebody. Yes? No? Hit me up. Anybody out there want to quit smoking? How about talking about animals? Anybody out there pet lovers? Yes? Any pet lovers out there? Anybody have cats, dogs? Anybody considering adopting a pet? How about that one? You're thinking about what kind of dog or cat will fit in your life? How about relationships? I'm fairly good on answering questions on relationships. But, like I say, I'm here to talk about getting you healthier. Making sure that you understand that being healthy is really a choice. And anybody at any age can start making improvements. 20, 50, 80, it doesn't really matter. If you want to make improvements in your life and become healthier, all you've got to do is motivate yourself. Or you can always hire someone like me, a personal trainer, health coach, to motivate you. Now, the best personal trainers and the best health coaches, and my goal as a personal trainer and health coach is to make absolutely certain that I turn you into your own personal trainer, that you become your own health coach. My goal is accomplished when you're able to stay on track and stay healthy and stay at the weight you want to be without me having to stay on your butt about it, without me having to call you or Skype you or email you or text you. Are you moving? Are you up? Send me your weekly progress report. And I do look for a weekly progress report for my clients. In fact, I'll have some of them contact me via their smartwatches and their bands that track their activities. I highly recommend, if you don't have an activity tracker, get one. Even if it's just a little pedometer, a cheap little $10 pedometer, something. You want to make sure that you get up and move at least 10,000 steps a day. I set my personal goal as 15,000 steps a day. You can set the goal any way you want, just as long as you set some goals. And again, goal setting is extremely important. If you want to get things accomplished, write it down. Put it in writing. Paste it up on your mirrors. Put it on your screensaver. Your list of goals, and make sure whatever goals that you set for 2018, make sure they're SMART goals. These need to be goals that have to be exactly specific for what you want to accomplish. Say, I want to do this. Specifically, I want to do this. And it's got to be measurable. So don't just say, I want to get healthier. Be specific. I want to lose this much weight, or I want to quit smoking, or I want to exercise more. Whatever the goal is, make it specific. I want to get out and bicycle 5 times a week for an hour. Make it specific and measurable. So if it's specific, you can normally measure it. You make sure it's attainable so that you can do it. I mean, it doesn't make sense setting a goal if it's not something that you're going to be able to attain. relevant. It's got to be, it's got to make sense for what you're trying to accomplish, whatever that goal is. Make sure it makes sense for what you're trying to do. So if the goal is, lose weight, then you say, okay, I'm going to lose this many pounds over this amount of time, and this is how I'm going to do it. And of course, time bound. Make sure that you have a specific time set to accomplish that goal. Whether it's a month, whether it's 6 months, whether it's a year. I personally make short-term goals and I make long-term goals. I have some goals that go out a few decades, actually. I have some goals that I accomplish in a month. And of course, I set annual goals, yearly goals. And to do that, I take a look back, obviously, and review what I did in the previous year, or this year. I will review 2017 and have been, and say, well, I accomplished what I wanted to accomplish as far as these goals, and these are the ones that I either need to carry over or change or modify, so that 2018 is also going to see a set of SMART goals for me. So same thing with you, and that's one thing that I really do help my clients with, is goal setting, so that not just in their mind. I want them to write these goals down. I want them to put them in places where they're going to see these goals. I want no excuses. I put it in your car, put it in your office, a copy of the goals you have for that year. Remind yourself. You can make a mantra of those goals if you want. But as long as they're SMART goals and they're relevant, they're attainable, they're measurable, they're specific, they're time-bound, as long as they have all the requirements to be a SMART goal, then you can accomplish them. Now, you can always hire me and I can call and make you accomplish them, but you save yourself $25, $50 an hour is what I say. All right, questions, you guys. Anybody have any questions as far as anything having to do with weight, losing weight, putting on weight, building muscle, getting healthier? Can you guys hear me? I'm double checking. I am still waiting to hear if anybody is having issues. I was having issues earlier with my audio. Can you guys hear me? Okay. Because if need be, I'll go ahead and change the thing on my snowball. My blue ball, snowball. How about it? Questions? Hit me up. Anybody? Now remember, I was 250 pounds at one time. Not Mr. Skinny that I am now. I'm about 140 pounds now. So I was 252 pounds and also smoking cigarettes. And I guarantee you, if I can make those changes, and I am one of the original couch potatoes, I've literally seen every episode of Gilligan's Island I don't know how many times, but if I can make those changes, if I can start at age 45 and take off 110 pounds and quit a 30-year cigarette habit and get my type 2 diabetes under control, as well as managing chronic pain, I won't even go into the details on the back and issues like that, but I am a chronic pain sufferer with osteoarthritis, bursitis. I've got bone spurs L1 through S5, and my tailbone has a funny tendency not to curve under when I sit down. So yeah, my issues as far as back goes and pain meds, because I have to literally live on pain meds the rest of my life, unless of course they can figure out a way to replace my spine. But that doesn't stop me. And anybody out there, and we also have an opioid crisis, and this is another thing that I talk about. 150 people are dying every single day from the opioid crisis. This is not getting any better. But what bothers me, and this is, it's the ignored part. Yes, we're losing 150 people a day to the opioid crisis, and that is a tragedy. We need to stop. But, and this is what's not discussed, 1,500 people a day are dying from obesity. So 10 times as many people are dying from a very slow, stalking, silent killer. Coronary arterial disease, CAD, is still the leading cause of death in America. And one of the surefire ways that you're going to put your heart under the kind of stress that it can go under is to become obese, become overweight, like I was, and being sedentary. And that's the other part of the equation. If you are putting in more calories than you're burning, in other words, you're gaining weight, and you're sedentary at the same time, in other words, you're not active, and CDC recommends, and yeah, I know the numbers, 30 minutes of exercise 5 days a week. That is for people who are already in shape and simply want to maintain their healthy weight. If you need to lose weight, or if you're over 50, 1 hour a day, 5 times a week. 1 hour a day. So that's 5 hours a week you need to invest in something that's going to take your resting heart rate and double it. Now, that's something you should know. And let's talk about numbers that you should be discussing with your doctor. It's numbers that you should know. And again, I am an ACE certified personal trainer, ACE certified health coach. These are things I talk about with my clients all the time. Weight, obviously, you know what your weight is. You know, and your weight and your height will determine what your BMI is. Your doctor should be discussing your BMI at your annual physical. So when you go in for your annual physical, prior to going in, you need to get lab work done, a full metabolic panel. Make sure that your A1C, everything, lipids, triglycerides, everything. So when you sit down with your doctor, you're going to talk about, one, weight. Is your weight where it needs to be? And these are, when I say numbers, and these are all the numbers that I like to discuss with my clients. It's important to, without discussing these numbers, we can't set any goals. So yeah, weight is the obvious one. You want to make sure that your weight is where it needs to be per your doctor. And your doctor will give you a recommended weight. But more importantly than the weight is your BMI, your body mass index. This tells us if you are in the healthy range per your height and weight for the mass of your body. When I was 252 pounds, my BMI was 38. Just so you know, anything over 30 is considered obese. At 38, anything over 35, that's extremely obese. Let's put it that way. And again, I'll show the picture. I don't want to hear you every time, but I'll show the picture. I keep this old driver's license on purpose because I pull it out and show it a lot. In fact, I have a rather large blow up of this somewhere. But that was me at 252 pounds. Okay? Now, I didn't do any diet plans or surgeries. What I did first was discuss my numbers with my doctor. And fortunately for me, I've had the same primary for quite a long time. And weight, BMI. Weight and height is going to determine your BMI. Your body mass index is going to be the key thing that we want to get in order when it comes to weight. The body mass index is going to be determined by your height and your weight. You can look it up right now. Go on Google or just look up BMI index or BMI scale, and you can put in your current height and your current weight, and it'll tell you exactly what your BMI is, your body mass index. Now that tells me how healthy you really are. So BMI is important, height, weight. I also want to know, is your blood pressure under control? Are you under any blood pressure medication? When I'm doing fitness assessments, especially if I'm working with somebody's breathing and heart rate, if I'm putting them through a treadmill test of some sort to see how efficiently they're breathing, I need to know if they're on any kind of medication, especially blood pressure medication, that might affect those test results or might affect their overall exercise ability to begin with. So I need to know, how's your blood pressure? And that's something you discuss with your doctor at the annual physical, another number. And of course, we all hear about cholesterol, right? And having low cholesterol versus high cholesterol, your triglycerides, your lipids, all of those things will be discussed with your doctor when you're doing your annual physical. Your A1C, now that's your blood sugars. Now that is the number that they determine over a 30 period a 30-day period of time. That's your long-term blood sugar panel. The daily blood sugars you'll find out using a glucometer. I take a little, stick my finger and it reads it right away, and it tracks it. My glucometer tracks my daily glucose levels. But the A1C is the important number because that tells your doctor how blood sugars have been processed through your pancreas over the long term, how your body is handling those blood sugars. So A1C is the most important thing to keep an eye on if you want to get away from being pre-diabetic. 70 million Americans are currently pre-diabetic. That's right on the verge of getting into full-blown type 2 diabetes. That's not something you want. Take it from someone who got diagnosed with type 2 diabetes and prompted this whole health journey of mine 13 years ago. But again, if I'm 58 years old, if I can start at 45 and walk off 110 pounds, quit a 30-year cigarette habit, get my A1C at least down to a livable range. My last test was 6.1. My goal for 2018 is to try and get it below 6.0. 5.8 is my ultimate goal. As a diabetic, I will always take medication. So, especially for people like me, the 30 million Americans who've already been diagnosed, right? 10 million who are not being treated. Don't start me. If I find out who you are, I will be talking to you. Or you can just start picking toes and fingers and things that you don't like, because they're going to lop them off eventually. But 30 million of us Americans have been already diagnosed with this disease. And we need to watch those numbers naturally. 70 million on top of that are pre-diabetic, and most aren't even aware. That's the scary part. Because until you start getting hit with those symptoms that I got hit with in January, February 2005, until those symptoms hit you, by the time you get hit with those symptoms, you're already in full-blown type 2 diabetes. You're there. And at that point, the pancreas is not going to go back and repair itself. So my doctor tells me my pancreas is about 50% active, which means I'll be taking diabetes medication the rest of my life to make sure that my A1C, my blood sugars, don't turn into neuropathy. Last thing I want to do is lose any fingers or toes or eyesight or my life by not taking care of my diabetes. As pre-diabetics out there, and 70 million Americans, I again repeat it, and I'll keep saying it until I sound like a broken record. Millennials, that was a round thing that we put on. I'm just kidding. 70 million pre-diabetics. Of those 70 million, every single one of them has the ability to stay away from diabetes. Think about that positively. Think about that as glass is half full. All right, so yeah, you're pre-diabetic. That means that you can go either way at this point. You can say, okay, let me take control of this, get this done. Now, I'm going to move you guys down here. I think we're going to have a sit down